Hi.
Hello.
See, you got your readers on.
Whatever you do, don't turn 52 years old. Everything changes. All of a sudden, I got this apparatus on my head. I can't see what I'm doing otherwise. Oh, there it
They
is.
look good on you, though.
Thanks. Learning about this new welding machine. It's a little bit tricky for a caveman like me, but I'm figuring it out. This is the Arc Captain MiG 200. It runs on 110 volt and 220. I'm running it on the 220 circuit, but it's variable. And we're going to try out some welding with it today.
Oh, yeah.
Messed around with it a little bit yesterday, past couple days, and I'm using the .023 wire, which is small, so I had to order the correct tips, and I bought a new spool of wire. So we'll tune this thing up when we get to welding. What I'm doing, as they say, you want to accomplish one thing, you got to do three things to get to that point, right? So we're on number 2 of the 3. Chassis is on the table, rims and tires are in place, floors are out, waiting on those. This new body, albeit nice and dry, rust-free, I thought before we go cutting into this thing, I want to address this. I want to address this caved-in quarter panel. Yes, I could get in there with a hammer and dolly and do all this work and try to bring it back into shape. The biggest concern for me is this flat panel will tend to oil can on you when you start to work it back in. Sometimes it's easier to just cut this panel off, make it straight, and then reattach it. Look at this. You got your nice body line here. Bam, it took a shot. That's a pretty powerful impact to correct when it's on the car. It's fixable. But I thought, hey, we got that red bug in the back, and it's never been crashed.
That's a grand idea.
So I cut that off. I had one little ding right here. I hammered that out. There's one little ding right here. So considerably straighter. The whole thing being, see the mounting bolts for the fenders?
Mm-hmm.
They're all whacked out of shape on that panel. And this one, they're pristine. One of the little nuts spun out, but that'll be easy to reattach. But I just went through with the cutting disc and took it right off. See, in this area where it met the rocker and inside the running board is usable, not really rusty. Bugs have a bunch of this goo that's squirted inside. Makes a great trap for moisture, so that's usually where you find your rust, but this one does not have it. And when they shaved the side trim, usually it has the chrome trim, they didn't weld it. They just squirted body filler in there. So that means none of the panel is warped from welding.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. A lot of people will remove the side trim holes. Either they're still here on this car.
Mm-hmm.
But the nice thing about this panel is it's basically the same shape.
Oh, awesome.
See, snaps right in place. I cut it off so that this is the panel that's going to be most likely to warp. That's why I'm hesitant to try to repair the older one. I left all of these stamped edges in place. That's what's keeping it all into shape. So this body line is pristine. A little wrap into the window. If you were replacing, a full quarter panel for a perfect restoration, you would go down and find all the spot welds, and you'd pretty much detach this entire panel with its little flanges, etc., for the windows. This car is not going to be a bug roof in the end. It's going to be that cool wagon thing. So I just cut off a generic piece of that car, and we're going to detail it in. You can see how I got these areas pretty much laid out where it's going to be welded back. It's negotiable a little bit. The top's going to be chopped, and it's not going to be a Beetle back here. So I'm not even worried about this vent. This is just going to be a generic placeholder. I'm going to tack this in just to hold it. But this whole rear is going to change. And the top being chopped, this pillar may lean forward, it may move, so I'm just going to tack it right there. The main thing I'm looking for is the repair in this section to be done. So the first thing you do is take that little shake out of it. It's a little wobbly. This bug's very, very rigid, so I'm not really worried about it changing shape, even though it's like up on the jack stands like that. So yeah, door opens and shuts perfect. There's no latch in it, but I have that from the other car. So first thing is I'm going to get in here and just start to cut away. This isn't going to be a very exciting episode, but as I mentioned, it's got to be done. I'm going to come in really close to the mounting points for the fenders on this. See, this is pretty banged up, so I'm going to have to hammer that once I get this out of the way. So I'm going to want this panel to lap as close as possible. I'll explain that once we get into it. So this one is going to be cut back a little bit less than the other one, so that the other panel will land somewhere on this surface. Yeah. And again, it's not going to have a back. It's going to be wide open back there. So yeah, I'm going to get in here and start cutting. Are there any questions?
No, I'm ready to see this happen. Let it happen.
Art Captain. Took me a minute to get used to their welding helmet because it has a number of switches on it. There's a grind setting, so you turn it off to not have the auto dimming, so you can use it as a face shield.
Wow.
And I was missing it. I was mixing it up.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, the welder helmet's not working. And they're like, well, you have to turn the weld function on. Yeah, that's news. All right, I'm gonna make this quick and simple. Are you ready?
We're going to have these in our store soon, guys.
Yes.
The orange ones.
Montage. Here we go.
The montage.
So I mentioned that goo that's in there. You'll start to see some pretty funky smoke effects, and that's what's going on. The later model cars have more of that stuff in it, so this one being from the 70s, I think we can expect a smoke show. That's called getting your money's worth right there.
Whoa, let me see. Oh my God.
I use every bit of that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't even notice that. Wow. It's a mini disc.
So what I'm doing with the cut, on the donor piece, you'll notice the flange turns the corner into the door jamb. You have this coming around. That's keeping the shape of all this. And then on this one, just as a preliminary cut, see I'm cutting right on the edge. Because sometimes I'll just take this and tap it in a bit and lap that other one over. Makes a very strong join. If you're doing a perfect restoration, people would see that and say, no, it's been repaired, but this is a custom. You could do that. Same thing here, this bottom panel, it turns the corner in, But on this one, I'm going to cut right on the edge. Yeah, so the earlier models have a lot less stuff inside, but they do have the same amount of filth. Let's explore.
All right, we're back.
All right. Welcome to Southern California. Look at that. That's some desert treasure right there. Let me get the air hose. That's a good sign. That's the thing, you know, a car can look crusty and bashed up, etc. But when you think about the bones, right? Look at that. That's factory primer. That's a 50-year-old car. That is awesome. That's the way it looked when it left the factory. Just a little bit of patina on that. Good news. This foam here, that's just standard issue stuff. I'm going to chop that out just so we don't cause a fire while we're welding. The old tire iron does a nice job. And it's funny because, as I mentioned, a lot of times you'll get your rust because of this stuff they put in the panel. The water collects against it. See, it is rustier here than it is down there. Get a little air hose action. See what I was describing? It's rustier in there where the foam was than where it was just wide open. Nice. I like that. Let that air compressor charge up for a minute. Some of this crud out of the way. All right, so with this trimmed out, you can see that this is pretty dented in if you look at it from this angle. I'm going to dress that up with a little hammer and whatever action, whatever meaning whatever it takes. I think maybe this steel plate. The idea is just kind of giving it a surface to meet up with and pull it back out. Sort of like that. And we can figure out that contour, how it matches up once we get the other piece on. There it is. Yeah, in a perfect world, I'd have the right dolly to use, but a piece of 1/4-inch steel plate does the biz. All right, let's fit this baby up and see what we're working with. This one has a little foam and a little goo. I'll take that off. Stuff's pretty stuck, as I remember. I don't want to dent or crease the metal either. For that area on the car that I was fixing is this area here on this panel. That's why I want to be sure I don't dent this one. Because this is going to dictate the shape of the car. And then a little foam back here. Yeah, if you're in the Midwest, somewhere there's a rainy climate, rust, etc., you're probably going to want to sandblast all this at this point, put some kind of a rust coating on it. Again, it's the desert. We don't have to do that.
If you kept it in a garage, it wouldn't obviously rust.
Well, even still, or you just never drove it in the rain.
Right,
But
if it's a show car, then
Yeah, but even condensation, that's what's happening here. I'm sure this is just the majority of this, because maybe a little water would get in through here, but look at this. I mean, you got rust coming through the roof skin. And I'm sure that there's foam in there that's causing the trouble.
I've never thought so much about rust until I met you.
Critical thing. That was the bane. It is the bane of every car restoration and customizer in the world. It's just the number one thing. It's like, oh, I got a project. Oh, I got to do 10 things to get to where I want to go.
Right.
Just restoring. Look at that. That's going to be fine.
I'm definitely getting my tetanus shot updated.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it.
Looks good.
Puts that body line right back into shape.
Yeah.
I'm going to do some more trimming on this, of course. But I think what I was saying, my plan of just sinking this flange in a little bit, I'm going to cut it right here. I'm going to cut it in the corner. I'm just going to ding this back just a little bit so that I can slip this over it. I'll move this up just a hair too, because this one's in better shape. That's kind of what I'm doing now, is I'm making a decision. So see the drip hole here? That allows water to get out. And when I cut this one, I cut right through it. So I think I'm going to trim this back. See, this goes almost to nothing here, and it's a little bit rusty, whereas this one's pristine. So I am going to lap this over, but I'm going to cut it way back and give this a good clean out with the wire wheel and use that as the main support for it. Little whamma jamma to get those bolt things in line. Let's see how it fits up. I pulled this flange in just a little bit. See how it's just a little inside? Just moving it in just a touch. I'm going to check the door gap, etc. before I do any welding, but I'm just trying to sneak this back just a little bit. I found that where the door striker plate lands, there's a doubler. It's double wide material, so I cut the one out of this one so it can slip on. Look at that.
Like a glove.
Like a tin can lid. I like it.
Yeah, it's really literally perfect.
Let's check that door.
So is that good? Insert the yay!
So this area here, this one's still riding on top. I have some pretty cool Baja bug fenders. Actually, let me just grab them and see if we need that bolt at all. If it's not these fenders exactly, it's something like them, but you see they're kind of abbreviated. Oh, they come back real far. They come back to this bolt hole. So yeah, I'm going to want to use that, and we'll repair that one. I think we probably only come to that bolt hole though. Yeah. I'm going to trim that out a little bit more and get that to fit up. Might as well clean that up with the wheel. As I mentioned before, it's not going to have those vents, so the way that the top is getting chopped the center, this area is just being tacked in now just to hold the old shape. It's not going to be there in the end. So again, the rust is there. I did cut back the majority of the fuzz that was on top. But at the end of the project, I'll probably just inject that 415 all through there. Yeah, I like it. Gonna trim that back. Yeah, cool. After all the stuff happens in the end, this won't be here. There'll be another piece that comes in or whatever. It's going to be exciting putting that wagon roof on the back. That looks all good. I'm going to do a little cleanup on the underside of that one flange. We're ready to start welding. All right, got as much crud out of there as possible. We're going to tack this thing in place. This is going to get fully welded, so it's going to take some time. I don't really have a lot of time to spare today, but we'll get it tacked up and work on the welding over the coming days. A little update on these floor pans. I'm going to have to go pick up these floor pans down in Anaheim area near Disneyland because UPS won't ship them. They have the pointy jack ports that stick out, and I guess they have a gripe with that they puncture all the boxes. And the guy says, yeah, it's going to be really expensive to ship them. So it's going to be a 2-hour drive. Not a terrible thing, but that's what's holding us up on the floor pans. And then this welding part is pretty easy. Turn on the gas and we'll tack it in place. So now that everything's fit up, just pop it on for the last time. Looks nice. I like it. These gaps look good.
Looks really good.
Yeah, neat.
That's so shiny.
It's new. I haven't even used it yet on sheet metal. Let's see what it does. I'm gonna have to tune it a little bit, I'm sure.
So what you thinking, Ian?
What I'm thinking is I can't figure out that machine for the life of me. I'm gonna explain something in simplest terms. It has all these buttons and all these knobs, and the only thing that I can read is called mode. It's got a whole book of instructions, and it's like programming a video game. The welder I've been using for 20 years, longer even, looks like every other welder I've ever seen and learned from. It has a wire feed setting, how fast the wire is feeding, and it has a voltage setting. Some of them will have amps and wire speed, but it's like a 2-knob system. This one speeds up and slows down the wire. This one turns up the power and decreases the power. I know this machine and I set it kind of instinctively at this point for the wire that I'm using and what I'm welding. That has 9 knobs on the face of it, and I can't figure out any of them. Do I want to go to school and learn how to program a new machine? Not really. Do I want to weld this car together? Yeah. Am I a little frustrated? Yeah. I should have been done by now. So maybe I'll mess with that. Maybe I won't. What that machine was doing, see, it welds fine. The minute I pressed the trigger, the wire started shooting out, and it wouldn't stop. It stopped on its own terms. You press the trigger on this machine, there is a run-in, run-out setting. You can get into that, but that machine, it went fast, and it was just doing its thing. This one, you let go of the trigger, and it stops, right? I don't get it. That's my real-time first assessment. Do you drive a car without reading the book? Yes and no. Do you take a welder and use it without reading the book? I want to. I've been welding for a long time. So, to sum it up, welding, it's not a rocket science. Trigger and 2 knobs, and it works darn good. Let's get that door jamb fit up, do one more test. Yeah, the gap looks just about right.
Looks great.
Alright, so pretty flawless welding, huh? There's foam in the hole. I'll put that out.
See a few little flames.
Yeah. This is all pretty warm right now. I'm gonna let it cool down. But you can see it's got a good degree of tacking all along the way. So this is pretty much where we're at. I think with that other welder, I am gonna do my homework a bit more. It's not really intuitive to the caveman that I am, but it does weld. I'm gonna have to just look at the instructions more. You got a good door gap. Got a straight panel. I call that a win. The red bug is coming back to life.
When you thought it was lost, here it is.
No, because look, this is crushed. In this car, the drip rail's crushed. Both sides are bad. So that red bug is going to be like the intermediate for this project. This roof skin is good, but this area here will probably be donated from that. This area here may or may not be, depending on how that fiberglass wagon roof comes in. And I gotta say, that looks better than it did 2 hours ago.
Yes.
We're on a roll. Floor pan's coming in. A little more welding going on next. I'm going to cut the inside of this body out because we saw that on a prior episode. It's no new information. I'm going to go in and cut out the package tray, the rear seat area, and then the whole surrounding of where the body used to mount to the floor pan. So probably just get that on this chassis without all the moving around, wasting time. So yeah, next time I'll have this up on there, all cut out. On to the next.
Let's go get tacos.